you add all that up, it all equals crap if you're not willing to commit to making your podcast great. And I believe in you. I know you can do it. You have what it takes. But if not, you're going to fail.
All right, welcome, and you have got to the right place. We are teaching you what you need to start a podcast. So, Clay, we've gotten a ton of questions from Thrivers all over the world wanting to know specifically, how do I start a podcast? And now you are in the right place. So, Clay, we're going to get into the reasons why people want to, start a podcast. So, in your experience with different businesses that you've consulted with, why is kind of like the podcast trend, coming up so much?
Well, one, we're going to add the stats to the screen. Wall Street Journal had an article they came out with that shows this, but more and more people under the age of 25 are using a podcast and not listening to like an FM radio station or an AM radio station. So basically, back in the day, if you wanted to hear your favorite talk show, or, you would basically have to wait for that time of the day for the show to happen. So you'd have to wait till 6 a.m. or, the drive to work or the drive home. You'd have to say, no, I can't take the call. I'm listening to my favorite show. So you'd miss your show from time to time. Two is the shows were designed to be mass audience appeal. So, if your favorite show, was very specific, like you wanted to have a show that was just about how to make passive income, you would never really have that kind of show because there probably wasn't the majority of listeners who wanted to learn that. Now, the market can be segmented and broken down into very small pieces, and a podcast is perfect for that. So podcasts now, third big change is smartphones. People have smartphones. They have access to the internet everywhere. So now we can listen to whatever show we want to whenever we want. Two, we can listen to content that's specific and niched. And three, it works with our smartphone. It works with the way we live now. So podcasts are becoming the future. I mean, they already are here, but they're becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And the only rip I have on podcasts right now, and this Wall Street Journal article hammers this home, and I want to put the information up here, is that many podcasters are still struggling to monetize their podcast. Like, they're recording a ton of podcasts, they're putting out a ton of content, but no one's buying it from them. No one's paying for the content. And I would argue, one, because some of them are really bad, and two is because they're not teaching things in a scalable way or providing content in a scalable way where they're focused on getting enough website traffic or podcast traffic that an advertiser would be willing to advertise on the podcast. So if you follow the systems, we're going to teach you today kind of how to set up a podcast and how to kind of get into all that. But eventually we will teach you how to monetize it as well. So I am excited, my brother.
Okay, so let's get into the top 7 reasons for creating your own podcast and why podcasts are an effective vehicle, okay? And so the first one is exactly what you said, has an ability to generate revenue.
And I don't want to mislead people. You have to have about 30,000. I've read all different stats, talked to a lot of guys who are making literally $500,000 to $1 million or more with their podcast. Talked to a lot of ladies who are making $500,000 or more with their podcast. There's not a whole lot of people doing it, but I've talked to many of them. And I will say that you do have to have around 30,000 downloads of your podcast each time, or thousands of downloads, before an advertiser with a sound and functional mind is willing to advertise on your program. And ultimately, that's how you make money, is advertising. So you have to make content that enough people are listening to that an advertiser would want to advertise on it. So one, you have to have a specific niche, right? So let's say your podcast is about duck hunting. So a whole podcast about, that's quacktastic. The people who sell rifles and hunting gear and camo, they might want to buy an ad on your show if there's enough people of that niche listening. But if your show's about everything, if it's like The View, the show The View with Whoopi Goldberg meets like the Quacktastic Show and Sports Center, then no one wants to listen to that stuff. So you've got to have a defined niche.
Yeah, so we're going to walk the Thrivers through all the steps, but you have to make sure that you understand that the ability to monetize is primarily going to come from advertisements. Okay, that's one of the top reasons why for podcasts. The second is that listeners can access the podcast at their convenience about what they want. So exactly what you're talking about, you don't have have to wait for that certain time for the radio show.
Yeah.
They can access it whenever they want.
And I know for the younger thrivers we have, this is obvious. So I'm going, I know, I get it. We have a lot of thrivers on our site, though, of all different ages. We've got guys who are in their 60s, 70s. We had a lady I talked to the other day. She's in her mid-60s, and she's going, I've heard I should have a podcast. I don't know anything about it. So, but yeah, this is great because it allows listeners, again, to gain access to the content they want when they want it. It's great. So that's why people are going to love your podcast.